So the big question is this: how can we as legal support professionals find the clients that we really want, all while running a business and still finding time to get people served? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Michael Reed, the podcast server, and I want to welcome you to Process Server Daily. You can listen to a new episode each and every Monday morning on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you like to listen. Share this podcast with your friends and colleagues, and please leave us a review if you like what we're doing here. Let's give a big shout out to today's sponsor, PSD University. They have a special offer for all of today's listeners at the end of today's episode. Don't miss out. What's up, Server Nation? Our guest today is a skip trace specialist from Massachusetts. As the president, CEO, and top dog of Neal & Associates, he will find you at home, he will find you at work, or he'll find you when you least expect it. Eric Neal, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome, Eric. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You got a family, and then we'll move into how you got started in this industry.
I live in Middleton, Mass. My office is out of Peabody. I have an awesome wife that works at Harvard, so she's kind of on the other side of the coin. So I started off in collections, and now I do the skip tracing. But she does mortgage loan origination. So she starts with the debtor. Hopefully, that's not to come, but usually does come. And she starts with the consumer, and we kind of finish up on the last step after the consumer gets their judgment after they don't pay their bill, and we got to skip trace them down to find their place of employment. And so we're kind of on the final end of things if it doesn't work out with the consumer.
That's
but
cool.
She has a great career, with Harvard, and got 2 dogs at home, and working on building a new house, and so just a lot going on, but so it's a good thing, good times.
No, that's good, Eric. It's cool when you can work with your spouse, or sometimes it's hard because work can get kind of stressful, but that's great. So how did you get started in this industry?
Well, I'll give you a quick rundown. I did some odd jobs here and there when I was growing up, and I did 4 years of security, and it got to the point where I was doing overt and covert security for a couple different outfits, and it just got to the point where it was just so mundane. There was no mental challenge to it whatsoever, and I needed a change. Plus, working $10 an hour with $100 a year bonus is not really that great.
Right.
So I was looking at sales, and I was looking at collections. I hadn't really ever considered collections, but I decided to give it a shot, and I went straight into a litigation collection company in Massachusetts, KBC law firm or law office. And I started with them, and, then I started to experience what every collector eventually experiences. And that's, you start doing really good. You start pulling in like $2,000 a month in bonus checks alone, aside from your pay. And then the company switches around the bonus plan, so they're getting a hell of a lot more and you're getting a lot less. So then I went off to a few different agencies. I did commercial collections, consumer collections, mainly staying in the post-judgment arena. I found I had a knack for skip tracing, like right from the start. So I had a good talk off on the phone. I was able to speak to debtors. I had a very, very straightforward, like, this is who we are, this is what we do. I'd like to try to work with you to reach an arrangement. So it was very respectful, and it worked really well for me. But I didn't have one of those magical talk-offs that some people just get on the phone and you sit there with your jaw dropped looking at them like, how the heck do they do that? I didn't have that, but I always had the skip tracing that always put me above everyone else. I was able, while everyone else was calling the same number over and over again, getting nothing, I was finding different numbers. I was finding different people's jobs and stuff, and that's what really put me ahead. I think it's that experience that really kind of got me where I am now, because I did that for a while, and then I decided on the last job that, again, switched around their bonus plan. I started making $20 a month rather than $2,000 in bonus. I said, you know what, I'm going to open up my own agency, and I did that, and I ran a company called Affordable Financial Solutions out in New Hampshire for 5 years. And I liked it, and it was good, and we did really well with the commercial collections and pretty good with the consumer collections. But honestly, it had been about 10 years, 9, 10 years. I was getting to the point where money started to go way down. And it was just because nothing really had changed for me, except the fact I just, hated waking up in the morning and calling people for their money. Just day in and day out, always trying to get people to pay their bill. And it just gets very taxing. And I had enough of it. And, I was talking to my wife about maybe going back to work, which I didn't really want to do for someone else. But I kind of want to stay in business I really want to stay in business for myself. And she asked me a question, and it was, I won't ever forget. And it was, what do you hate about the industry right now, about what you're in? And I said, pretty much everything at this point. She said, well, is there anything that you like? And I said, well, I've always enjoyed the skip tracing. I've always been good at that, very good at that. And she said, well, can you make a business model out of that? And I said, I don't know. And but I started to think about it, and I started to pull some of my current clients that I had and ask them if that service would be valuable to them on their judgment files, which we were doing their non-judgment files, their regular, just non-suit files. And they said, actually, yeah, if you could offer that on our judgment files, that would be a huge help. And apparently, I learned that there's not a lot of quality control in the industry right at that time, 3-4 years ago. And even still now, there's not a lot of quality control, but there's not a lot of competitors, but there's a great need for it. So I thought that was a really great place to be in. So I started up Neal & Associates, and that's what we do.
Eric, that's a really cool way to get started. And I got to tell you, skip tracing is one of the coolest things because it goes across all the different platforms, whether you're a bounty hunter, a process server, a private investigator, a collection agency, an attorney, and all this. I mean, skip tracing applies across all those industries. And so that's why it's such a cool opportunity to have you come on as a guest. And everybody has their ups and their downs in their career. But I want to know from you, what is the worst moment that you had in your career as a skip trace expert?
Well, I wouldn't say it was more on the business end than skip tracing, but within that arena, I had 2 really bad moments. When I started out, and I've learned from this. Sometimes I fall back into it, but I've learned from this. One of my first clients I got was an agency out of Illinois, and they paid late a couple times, and but they were our only client, and they were our first client. And we, I had an office of 5 people then, and we is a larger office than I have now. But it was we did really well, and at one time we were getting paid every 2 weeks, and at one point we got $3,000 earned in the 2 weeks time, and they didn't pay, and they didn't pay by the next week. And I had a vacation coming up. I had associates to pay. I actually it was really embarrassing for me. I had to get a loan for my wife to be able to pay my associates because I don't want them to suffer for a client not paying. And it almost killed my agency right from the start because, I didn't take the cue that I should have taken on them on them paying late a couple times. What I should have done then, I learned from that was, well, the payments are kind of shaky, so I'm going to lower how much time we put into this client. I'm going to work on getting other clients in the meantime, and just not try to kill it every week on their files if they have a history of not paying or not paying on time. And that almost killed my agency right from the start. And then that was one thing. Another thing that almost killed my agency right from the start was when I started training people in skip tracing. I thought, and this is kind of the traditional way that many businesses teach, you start with the easy stuff and you progress from there. And so I was bringing in new hires, and I was teaching them all the online stuff that almost anyone that uses a computer these days knows how to do. But I was teaching them all the easy stuff, and I was progressing in the standard order, what an employer usually goes. But then when it got to them actually picking up the phone and talking to people, is where people started to fail. And I learned from that, and now I don't even teach the easy stuff because I figure most people can navigate Facebook, use a computer effectively, and I can get into more advanced methods with them later. But the real key to success of this industry comes from actually picking up the phone and talking to people. And so I put them on that, right off the bat now. And if they can't do that within 2 days, they're out. I move on to the next person. And that's one thing I learned. those two mistakes in the beginning nearly ruined me from the start.
Eric, I love your worst experience in business because it really highlights this whole industry, the whole legal industry. I want to say most of the customers when I first started out were like 30, 60-day pays. And that's one of the reasons I created the automation domination. I won't go into it too much, but for my following, they know, automating the systems that matter the most is like the most important thing that you can do. Like whether it's lead capture for marketing or whether it's securing payment via credit card authorization forms using FormStack and Stripe or something like that. Whether it's managing your serves automatically so that you have a place to go find the important details. I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show about the different softwares that we use that make our lives easier and our businesses more efficient. So your worst experience to me says, know your business, know where you're going with things, who your avatar, who your primary customers that you want to have and your as a customer. Yeah. And then also know your business model. So that's really cool to hear about the training of these newbies and how it didn't work out and then like how you're moving forward now. Like, so primarily your main focus is teaching them skills on the phone. Because if they don't have skills on the phone, then they don't got it.
Right. Because anyone can do the online stuff and I can't spend time because I spend all this time training them and then they don't work out and I just wasted all that time when I could have moved on to someone that does have. And actually, I'll say it to you. That's why I've been focusing on in recent hires, people that have that prior experience, a little customer service, but I'm going after the sales guys, people or sales people, it's BPC, but that's, those are the people that have no qualms with picking up the phone and getting someone on the phone and selling them stuff. They have, and if you can sell, you can do this industry too, because you're selling an idea or you're working the phones, you're working people, you're getting information. And those are the people that I wish I focused on from the beginning, and it was a hard lesson to learn, but, now I'm focusing on those types of individuals that have that prior phone experience that basically are not afraid of the phone.
That's great, Eric. I actually have a lot of sales experience, and I get what you're saying about being able to pick up the phone and being able to not feel uncomfortable when the person's like, we're having dinner at the moment, and instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, and just hanging up,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then having, rebuttals. And in sales, we're taught, at least 3 times you come back. You don't want to ruin that relationship because you want to be able to come back to them in the future, but come back at least 3 times with the rebuttals and have something to be able to come back and say to maybe get them to buy. Because, ultimately when you're trying to sell somebody, you're trying to break down the barriers that they have set up that say, I don't want to buy, and get rid of the insecurity they may have about it. So I feel like it's kind of the same, along the same lines when you're trying to get information out of somebody.
Well, that's the thing. When we get a relative on the phone, I had one associate that I was able to effectively teach her and show her some examples, and she overcame that. But I've had associates where we, say we're calling relatives or trying to maybe find out where, calling a mother where her daughter works. And, the person will sometimes pick up the phone, say the mother, for instance, pick up the phone, we'll ask about we know we're calling the relative, but we'll still ask for the person like, oh, hey, is Jenny there? Mm-hmm. And she'll say, oh, you have the wrong number. Now, associate that's not trained in this or doesn't know better will say, oh, sorry about that, and hang up the phone. And you don't want to do that. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was Jenny's number. Are you a relative of hers? And the person's, oh, well, I'm her mother. And oh, great. Yeah, sorry about that. But you see, a associate that's not comfortable on the phone or doesn't have that experience, that knowledge, is just going to end the call right there. Oh, I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am, and hang up. And they could have got valuable information from that call, but they didn't have the know-how or the experience to actually, don't just go on no. You ask them questions. It's okay if they get annoyed with you. It's okay if they even swear at you and hang up the phone. Get some information, but don't just go on with the first no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one person that I learned a lot from in skip tracing said that he got most of his information when he had them on hold.
Oh yeah, you mute the call, and I used to do that in collections, and I actually remember one experience where a husband or a wife was talking, one of those, a spouse was talking with the other spouse, and they were discussing on how much they were willing to spend, but they were gonna start real low. So I gave them a number like $200 higher, and I said, that's the least I can go. We finally worked out a number that they had previously divulged when it was on hold, quote unquote, on hold. And yeah, I learned a lot of information right there.
It's really cool to kind of dive into the different aspects of skip tracing. And like, honestly, I could talk to you about it forever because I know you're so into this industry, so deep into it. And I know Server Nation is going to get so much out of this interview. And we can do some more stuff in the future. But for now, I want to put the spotlight on you, Eric, because you've done a lot of really cool things in your career. I want to go to our next question, which is, what was your Blockbuster skip? The skip you found that made you jump for joy?
All right, I can easily answer that one because I'll never forget that one. It was actually before I was running this industry. I mean, before I was running this agency that I own. It was when I worked for a commercial collection agency, and they did some consumer stuff too. And the boss, I was managing the office, so the boss gave me all the hard stuff, all the kind of the last step in the waterfall after his collectors worked it. It would come to me as like a final stop to see if I could get it. And it was a celebrity, which obviously which I'll rename nameless, but it was a B-level celebrity. She did soap operas and stuff. And and the problem with getting in touch with even a B-level celebrity is they have agents, and agents are, well, there's some words, but they're not very nice usually. Especially with dealing with people they've never talked to, unless you're calling them about like a business showing or something. But I couldn't do any pretexting, so I was working, it was directly for a collection agency, so I had to go in straight up. But she owed $10,000 on a book deal, and she had impeccable credit, so it looks like this was just something that she forgot to pay, or her agency forgot to pay. But she had an agency, and she had the agent. I couldn't even find what the agency was in the beginning. I finally got the agent that worked for the agency, that worked for her, the celebrity, and he was just really rude. The call was going nowhere, and it ended a couple times. I tried calling back, and we played that game for about a week, and just kept going back and forth. And he was like, "Oh, she doesn't know anything. You're a scammer," blah blah. So, but my client was ready to litigate on this, but they wanted to try to resolve it amicably before they took that route. So, as a final step, I started exploring the celebrities' social networking, and all these celebrities are really big on Twitter, and that's like their Facebook pretty much. That's where they put in a lot of effort. Some of them probably shouldn't be on Twitter with some of their comments, but she and maybe some politicians, shall remain nameless, but you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, they she posted on her Twitter, and she posted it a few times a day, and she posted that just like maybe an hour ago or a couple hours ago from when I read it, that she was going over her mother's house. And basically she was hard to track down, but I looked up her mother. She listed the first name, and I just assumed the same last name, and it turned out to be a maiden name. But either way, I eventually found the mother, and I think I was running Accurate at the time, and I found the mother, and then I eventually found her. But I found the mother, and I found the mother's address and home number, and I called the mother, and I asked for the celebrity by her first name, just kind of not being deceptive, but not sounding like a debt collector either, just sounding like I knew her, because obviously I'm calling her mother. I probably know her. Like, oh yeah, no, I saw that she was baking cookies with you today, and I hate to bother you. I just need to talk to her real quick. Is she available? And she's, oh yeah, let me go grab her. And so I was on the phone with the celebrity, and she was awesome. She was very polite. She was a sweetheart. She was awesome. And I was talking to her, and I said, look, I really, really hate to bother you at home. It's just I spoke to, and I gave her agent's name, and I spoke to him, and this is about the $10,000 book tour, or the $10,000 bill on the book tour you did. And she said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll take care of that. So we talked for a little while, and I actually told her, I know you get this a lot, but my mom is a huge fan. She loves watching the show, and she thinks you're the best actress on the show. She actually she had her agent, probably that she gave an earful to, but she had her agent overnight a signed copy of the book to my mother. So yeah, that was really cool. And she asked me a favor, and this is, I think, big where ethics come in. She asked me a favor if I wouldn't put down in the notes, or I wouldn't forward her mother's phone number off. And I said, as soon as we get the bill in, I'm deleting all my notes. And I even put in my notes so the client couldn't see it. I put, called mother at and then in parentheses or whatever, I put redacted. So like half my note just said redacted, redacted, redacted. And because I wasn't going to throw, her family's information under the bus. We got the bill paid. She had the agent pay the bill. They also overnighted a check for 10 grand. So they, I think it was 2 5-grand checks or bank checks or something, but they paid the bill right away. But that was, I looked really awesome to my boss. I utilized social networking. I utilized the phone, and it was one of my earlier skips, but it was a really fun one, and it was really good.
That is a really cool story. So
well, I do want to, I don't know if you want to put this in too, but anytime I really see something, it's a blockbuster, any kind of like skip I verify, you always get a rush from that. But when we really track something down, when we get to like play detective, really like we find something on TLO, or we find something on one of the vendors, or it's written, we see it, or we get someone on the phone, that's always fun. But when we see something on Facebook, for instance, we have work selfies, but the person is so careful not to have their work information on, and we've tried every method, but we see like half of a logo on their shirt or on a work selfie. We do image searching, and we put in a partial name of a business, and when we find something, I wouldn't say that's the top blockbuster skip, but that's really, really fun when we get to really kind of like look at an image and evaluate it and play detective and kind of see half of a logo and then match it up to other images online. That's always kind of a little blockbuster skip there as well.
Eric, I think that it is so cool to be able to get out there and to be able to collect that money. I mean, those are real dollar bills. I mean, yep. $10,000. I mean, yeah, she was a celebrity, and she was probably like, "This is silly. Why didn't this get paid or whatever?" But these celebrities, they have so many walls up, to protect them, because they're so, everybody wants to get to them for whether a good reason or a bad reason, or
usually a bad reason, the stalkers. But
yeah, unfortunately, for a beautiful woman, it's like 100 times. So that's great. What I get from your stories, for the most part, it's just a cool experience getting out there and doing the skip tracing and finding and using the tools that you use to be able to get her. That was really cool.
Well, there's incidents like that kind of, I mean, it was a culmination of different things that led me to build the skip tracing company, but it was specific incidents like that really kind of gave me hope that I could do really well at this.
Right. Yeah, no, and you did. And there's probably only a handful of other people that could do it as well as you did it. So that's really cool. Eric, what are you working on right now that has you most fired up, most excited?
Well, it's a couple small things. I'm building a YouTube channel that I really believe in. I love to teach, and and being the owner of this company, I get to have new associates come in. I get to see their eyes widen when it's like, oh, wow, I can do it this way, and I can find out this information. It's really fun, and I love to teach. And it's also how I love to market, too. I love to... some people will go into a channel or go into a Facebook group, and all they'll post is their marketing. And I find that to be kind of a really weak way of marketing, because you're not really showing anyone that you know what you're talking about. You're just kind of promoting your company and promoting yourself. And I like to show people that I do know what I'm talking about. And this is, hey, I'll teach you to do it this way. You like try this way and that way first. And if that doesn't work, use me as the last step in the waterfall. Come to me last. And I really love to educate that way, but it's good on marketing too. So I've been building the YouTube channel, and I got a couple of videos down. I'm going to be putting some more up this week and next. But it gets me excited when I get to teach something, and it's beneficial in multiple areas, and maybe creating some revenue in that area in YouTube and whatever. But showing people that we do know what we're talking about, that we're worth coming over to. That we're willing to share some knowledge because we want a long-term relationship. I'm using it as a training tool as well, so I don't have to keep repeating myself to every new associate that comes in the door. They get to watch the videos, and then I'll teach them from there. So it has a lot of benefits to it, and I've been talking about it for probably a year or two, and I do procrastinate at times, but I've started. It's enough talk. It's time to do it. So I've started doing it. I'm really excited, and it's a lot of fun. But that's probably what has me going right now. I'm really excited about that. I also started, and I discover these things, and I think like, oh, I wish I thought of this 3 years ago. I always say that to myself when I, kind of discover something really cool. And but I'm glad I thought of it now. We have, in every time that we find the information we're looking for, like a place of employment, for instance, we verify that, we send it to our client, and we're kind of done with it. And I've kind of always hated sales. I'm a great closer, but I'm a horrible opener. I don't know what I'm saying. I get nervous. I'm a horrible opener on the phone when it comes to sales. And I found a method that I don't mind sharing. We have on every account that comes in that we do a locate report on, we have the person's other judgments in the file. So when we verify the information we want, and I see that the person owes 4 other clients or 4 other potential clients, 4 other businesses money, I just got my opening right there. I'm no longer nervous. And that's been like a eyes wide opening, or I don't know how to say it. That's been a big thing for me, that it's now given me the power to go into a call, get in touch with the judgment holder. It gets me right past the gatekeeper. Hey, I have some information I want to share about someone that owes your company $4,000. I wanted to speak to the judgment holder or the owner of your business. And the gatekeeper throws me right to the owner. I don't have to work to get past the gatekeeper because that's valuable information. And my strategy has been basically, I'm gonna give this information to you whether you choose to go with my company or not. I'd like to try to offer your company services. I'd like to try to bring you on as a client and show you what we can do for your company. But even if you decide not to go with me, I'm still going to give you this information free of charge, complete verification as of 3 days ago. You can issue a wage garnishment. Obviously, I give my current client enough time to get that garnishment out first, but I want to do right by my current client. But I have all these gold standard leads that I haven't been exploring, and I have it right in my system every time we verify a file. And that's something I'm really excited about now that I've been utilizing, and it's been working out very well.
Well, Eric, that is definitely something worth being excited about. I got to tell you, the theme for everything you're excited about, from the YouTube channel to doing the POEs and wage garnishments and finding other people in these lists, is that you're providing value first. Whether it's the YouTube channel and you want to create something so that people could go on there and it's content, right? But you're providing value. So rather than just creating something where you're like, hey, look at me, look at the flailing arm tube man, hire my business. You're saying, check this out. This is what I do. You're kind of geeking out on you're like the guru for skip trade, and they see that, and they become where they get to know, like, and trust you.
And I think that's key. I think that's, and it's unfortunate. I've tried to educate some other businesses that don't seem to want to do it that way. They just want to throw down the repetitiveness of their advertisements. And that does work, but I think it's a lot more effective, and it can build a long-term relationship with your client, even more so when they didn't just get sold by your advertisement. They got sold by the knowledge that you're providing them, the content and the information that they can carry with them. That they can't carry an advertisement with them, but what they learn from the content that we provide, they can carry that with them for years. And I think that's what's going to build a long-term relationship with that client.
That's right. And the other thing is when it comes to these customers that you're calling for the judgments, that they don't even know, that they don't have the information. You've solved the problem for them, and being willing to provide that value from them. And I talk about this in my book, Automation Domination, where it's called the emotional bank account. We won't get into it too much, but you're making a deposit into the emotional bank account of your YouTube viewers, the people that come onto your YouTube channel. You're making an emotional bank account deposit to potential customers. And what happens is it's called leverage, and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this. You have just built leverage, whether it's a viewer, potential customer of yours, like maybe another collector that's going to work for you in the future or start their own business. You've built leverage with them, built leverage with the person that your customer, because you're providing the service that you said you provide. So what I take from all the stuff you're being excited, you got it. I feel like I'm talking to an expert marketer, because that's.
Well, I'm an amateur expert. I think I come out with some expert ideas, but I'm still very much an amateur. Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen the TV series Suits?
Oh yeah, I love that show.
All right. Yeah, I didn't like it. I tried to watch it a couple times and I didn't like it, but my wife was so into it. I got to thank her ultimately for this. But there was one episode, or actually a few episodes, where not Harvey, the other attorney. Nope, not the young one. The the one that's annoying.
Lewis.
Lewis, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But he went into a business. They were trying to increase their billing receivables, and he went into a business and he looked over that business and he provided them a packet of information and it's like, hey, I just saved you $1 million, or I just saved you 10,000, or here, you can have this. I just saved your company thousands of dollars, and you can have that. And that's kind of where I got the idea from. It's like, what can I provide to my client right off the bat? Something they don't even have and something they need, but they don't even know that they could have got. Excuse me, what can I provide to them right from the start to show them, hey, I just saved you tons of money, or I just gained you tons of money or something. You don't have to go with us, but here's the contract. And I got that idea from Suits, and I was like, what can I do with that? I was like, that's a really, really cool technique. And it's like, there must be something I can do. And then I started thinking about, like, wait a second, we already have all these verifications. We keep them in the system. Can I be offering this to their clients or to potential clients? And I was like, wow, that's actually really, and like I said, it dissolved all my sales opening fears. Like when I get on the phone, I can close things easy, and I have no problem with that. But opening was just a big fear of mine. I'd be at my desk. I truly start getting afraid of the phone. And when it came to a sales call, and that I had nothing to go in with except just talk about myself and my service. But now it really gave me something to go in with, and it solved all my fears, got me right past the gatekeeper to the decision maker. And it was just, so I thank Suits for that. I thank my wife for that ultimately. That got me into the show.
Well, that's good. I got to tell you, just providing value bombs to Server Nation like crazy. Anyone who's listening to this episode has definitely learned, or hopefully they've relearned the idea of providing value first and being able to attract clients and to
Awesome.
keep clients. Eric, our next question is from a listener, and he says, what happens if you skip trace, let's say someone like the President of the United States?
Well, it's not a good thing to start out with. I mean, it depends. When you say skip trace, it's kind of a broad question. Now, I can do all these public record searches, and someone like the president, for instance, there might be agencies monitoring that. There probably are. So I don't know what would happen using public records, but you're not really breaking any laws. As far as I know, you're not breaking any laws by getting things that are available to you for free. But I think I don't know if your listener meant this, but I'm assuming that he might have meant if you're using one of the powerful vendors like Accurate or TLO, or one of those that you have to get credential to use. And I can't tell you, because that would be just beyond. I mean, sorry, it would just be beyond idiotic to do something like that. But if you did, I imagine there would be an incident with the Secret Service. I imagine there would be some big problems that you'd be having right now that you wouldn't even have to worry about the civil stuff, because you'd be in deep water in the criminal arena. But I can tell you that when I was working for an agency back before I opened up my own, I was working for another agency, and this was probably back about 8 years ago or so. Someone decided to run an accurate report on Halle Berry, and I don't know if I can say that, but they ran on a celebrity, on an A-list celebrity, and they were blacklisted immediately. All these vendors, they have a blacklist. So as soon as someone runs a report on a certain name or piece of information that belongs to even a B-list celebrity, but any kind of celebrity, any kind of known politician. I mean, I guess I had to run it once on a mayor, and I wasn't flagged, and that mayor owed thousands of dollars. But so that wasn't a problem. But I think anyone, when you start getting into the national arena that everyone knows from other places, that's where you start getting in trouble. But all these major vendors, they have blacklists. So as soon as you run it, within about 30 seconds, your account gets shut down or temporarily suspended. You get a call from the company on your contact phones, and they want to see proof of. You get instantly audited on that. So they want to see proof, and it needs to be good proof. It can't just be like a statement from the creditor. They need to see absolute full proof on the debt, and if you have the permissible purpose too, because it all comes down to permissible purpose. So they want to make sure that it fits your permissible purpose to be able to run this information. But you better have that. If you're going to be running a report on someone, I guess, of importance, you want to make sure you have that information first. You might even want to call your vendor and provide them that information up front. and say, and that's actually when I told you about the celebrity that I found with Twitter, and how I got that one finished. I didn't let, the agency was using Accurate. I didn't use Accurate. I didn't notify Accurate. And the same thing happened. And she was a B-list celebrity, I'd say. And the account got suspended temporarily, and Accurate called me within about 60 seconds or so. And they wanted to see proof. And we had all the proof. We had all the documents, everything. So it was cleared up in a matter of like 10 minutes. But if we didn't, that would have led to probably a permanent suspension. So you're looking at a suspension from your vendor. And some people in the industry know, although some people, it seems, don't know. A lot of these industries, TLO, Accurate, a lot of these big name industries, they're obviously fierce competitors of each other, but they talk. So in the incident that I mentioned with the A-list celebrity at the law firm I was working, the entire company, and this was comprised of 3 offices, hundreds of people, the entire company got suspended. I believe it could have been for 2 weeks, but I believe it was for 30 days, got suspended because the associate did that. To cover themselves, the company called the police on the associate, and the associate was arrested in the office. It's at like 3 seats down from me. The associate was arrested. I don't know what became of that, if the charges were dropped or whatever happened. I didn't follow it, but the associate was arrested. The company got suspended, and this was a law firm, so they used the service all the time. Almost every associate had a login to Accurate, so they were spending big money for it. And the entire company of hundreds of people, over 200 logins. And see, the company didn't care when it comes to that, because that creates a lot of bad press and a lot of problems for them if they get sued or something. But the associate obviously got fired. I think that goes without saying. And then the associate got arrested. The company lost its license for 30 days or so. And they couldn't even get another service. They tried. And for some reason, this kind of gives credence to the fact that these competitors, these major agencies, they talk with each other. So they couldn't get another thing going with a different vendor because they were suspended. So there's a lot of negative things and that was from a celebrity. If you're going to, say, the president, for instance, or there's the civil trouble, there's the trouble with credentialing. It could kill your business. And then there's criminal trouble. You don't have any permissible purpose to be looking that person up. You should not be looking that person up. If you frequently get drunk and use your computer, you should not be, I don't know how to phrase that, but you should not be you need to be level-headed. You can't be stupid with this. You get a lot of access with this tool. Like you get TLO, you get Accurate. I could look up a celebrity and I get their cell number right now. I mean, I don't know what I'd say to them. Oh, you were really hot in this movie. Can we talk and go on a date? I mean, I don't know what I would say, but you have a lot of access to find out a lot of information about people and people that you shouldn't necessarily. And that's actually one of the reasons my associates are awesome. When I establish a good relationship with my associates, I've had my associates for a while. I really love them. They're awesome people. They do really good things for my company, and I greatly value them. And I trust them too, but I'm not giving them one of my logins. There's a different kind of trust. And I actually have a contract with my associates, being basically my independent contractor associates here. Your pay will be forfeited. And to cover, you'll be terminated immediately. And to cover ourselves with our vendor, because our vendor relationship, sorry to say, it's more important than my relationship with you as an associate. So to cover ourselves with our vendors, we will file a police report against you. And we'll show our vendor that we took all available steps to make sure this doesn't happen again. So we really go, from what I'm told from my vendors, our policy is probably more strict than most of their other clients. We have a really, really strict policy. So if they do get to use a tool and they do something stupid with it, they're going to lose their pay, they're going to lose their job, and they're going to have a police report filed against them. We take it very, very seriously because we don't want to be blacklisted from a major vendor because I had an associate that did something stupid.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you do something like that, it changes your whole business. I mean, especially for someone like you, that your business is based on being able to skip trace people and being able to find people. You're not out there serving papers and, so bottom line is, don't skip trace the president. Don't skip trace Halle Berry. Don't skip trace any other celebrity unless you have a reason.
And don't skip trace the person that my wife and I joke. We occasionally text each other license plates of the person that just cut us off and almost caused an accident. I will say there's some temptation to put that license plate in there and see who it belongs to and go put a note on their car at their house. There's well, I might have thought that one out too much, but there's some temptation there. But the fact is, you can get audited at any time, and these companies do occasionally do audits, random audits on files. And if you get audited on a file that you don't have permission to, and I'm sure nearly every agency, at least someone has skip traced a potential date or an X or something. It happens, and they haven't been caught. They haven't been audited, and there's a low likelihood, or that you will get caught, but it can happen. You can get audited on a file, and if you don't have permissible purpose, what you're covered under your credentialing, if you don't have the permissible purpose to be skip tracing that person, don't do it, because it's not vendor relationships or business relationships in this industry, whether it's process serving or skip tracing or collections, but your vendor relationships is everything. And you don't want to burn out a vendor relationship because of some stupid act that you did.
That's awesome. Server Nation, Eric has been dropping some major value bombs on us today, but prepare yourself because we're headed into the rapid fire round right after a word from our sponsors. Our sponsor today is one of my own making. PSD University started when I realized there was a void in online training for the legal industry across the country. As I interviewed some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, I found that many of them were more than willing to share this knowledge with others. A foundational principle of PSD University is building a strong network. Using the mastermind principle, we have taken networking to the next level. Right now, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial of the PSD Mastermind group. After that, it's just $39.95 a month. You and other legal professionals from all over the country can collaborate to grow your network and knowledge. We meet every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. That's psduniversity.com. Okay, welcome back to the show. Eric, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
I think so.
What are your top 3 skip trace databases?
I would say TLO, and TLO was an awesome company, and they had a lot of good things going for them. They were quickly becoming, I think, one of the leaders in the industry, compared to Accurant and Clear and a couple others. But they kind of, in my eyes, and I think in a lot of people's eyes, from what I saw on the forums and the boards and stuff, they kind of took a downfall a little bit when TransUnion took over, and maybe it was just a mess for a while, but customer service went way down, data quality went way down, and I ended up leaving to a different company, which was decent, but I did like my relationship with TLO. I had them for 5 years, and through collections and through the skip tracing company, and I really liked them, but they did go down in quality for a while. I started hearing better things about them, and views started to change. And I went back and had I started another relationship about 2 years ago or so with them, and they've really picked things up again. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy. When I left them, they hit me with a 2-month early, or I had just renewed my contract, and they charged me like, I don't know, something crazy like $7,000. And I said, hell no. I've been paying you guys for years and years and years. I'm not, doing that, paying you $7,000. And their contract was a little unclear, and it was just a mess. And when I came back, they wiped that for me. So that was a big selling point. And they wiped that debt for me. And then we built up a relationship from once we had it originally. So there's been they did, lower their standards a little bit, but then they've been picking back up, and I've really enjoyed the service. So that's probably one of my top vendors that I've used. Another one that we did really well with, and we don't have a relationship with anymore, is IDI. And I almost don't like to kind of give props to a company I don't really like the management of. The management is, in my eyes, and this is just my opinion, the management is very slow. They don't have necessarily the best customer service skills, I think. I just don't really like the management of the company very much, but they do offer a really good service. And when we had them, with TLO, they offer a lot of information. that you have to dig through to get the good information, but they offer a lot of information. So you do have to do a little more digging with them, but they offer a lot. So, and I prefer more and to do the digging than less. IDI is a company that has, they have, and management could have changed, things could have changed for them. I had them a while back, but they have a lot less information, but it's usually very on point. So when you're looking for addresses, I think they could be valuable for a process server, and their rates are good too. I think it's 100 a user. But when you're looking for good addresses and phone numbers, and you're not needing a lot of other information like assets and such, that's a very powerful company. I'd say that'd be my second one. As for my third one, honestly, it's not so much a vendor like TLO or IDI, but Facebook, to be perfectly frank. It's a database in a sense. I don't know if it's exactly what you meant by a database, but it's you have tons of users on there. You have people that are from 18 years old to even in their 50s and 60s or later on there. And even the ones, and Facebook kind of gives everyone the opportunity, and this is a two-sided coin here. It kind of gives everyone the opportunity to put their entire life on it and make it their personal journal. So, it's really annoying to look at on the personal side, seeing everyone's relationship details and issues in their life. But from a skip tracer side, it's a database that has a plethora of information that you can look through, and you can just learn so much from it about the person, about where they work, about where they live, who they associate with. So I don't think it really fits the question of a database, but in a sense it is a database, and it's a very, very useful one if you know how to utilize and work it correctly.
So Eric, you like TLO. You said that IDI had some really good information. Now, did you say that IDI, it's a little easier to, like, you just get the information you need as a process server, like you need to go serve something?
I'd say if you're just worried about the address and phone numbers of a person, then IDI, especially for addresses, IDI is a great choice. It's like a slimmed down version of TLO. The data honestly matches up pretty well. I wouldn't find necessarily all the numbers from IDI where you might get 3 numbers returned to you, 3 phone numbers and 3 addresses instead of a long history of like 15 addresses the person lived at 20 years ago. You're gonna get the most recent information. So I think IDI is really great there if you're not doing a full profile on the person, if you just want current information.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So is there a way to know which information is the most current? I know it has the dates on there, but where do they get their information from, I guess would be my biggest question.
I think that's everyone's biggest question. I mean, I've learned a little bit over the years, but it's honestly, these vendors, they don't release all their sources. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd really have to work for a vendor for a couple of years to kind of learn that. They don't release, and I haven't managed to find that out. I'd be very interested. It's just not for any kind of practical knowledge. It's just, very interesting. But they get it from credit bureaus. They get it from utilities. I'm sure they're partnered with other companies. I know, I believe it was Locate Smarter or something. But one of the companies we tried in the past, they actually got their information from payday loan companies. So when someone went and filled out a payday loan application, and they put their banking information on it, that would actually return in the results. So that was actually really cool. Unfortunately, the data, I mean, they would have payday loans from 2008, 2010, and not a lot of recent stuff. Sometimes you get a lucky hit and get something from 2017 or this year, but they'll get it from different sources, but it's a culmination of sources. And basically the way, as I understand it, when, say, we run a locate report, we'll find something that has like 100% accuracy, 99% accuracy, 86 is another common one. And I believe, and please, I'm not speaking as an insider source here. This is just kind of what I've learned over the years. So say they get their information from utility reports and homeowner information and credit bureau headers. Certain sources will have a higher point system. So like utilities might have a pretty high point system. So certain sources will have a higher point system, and they kind of put that all into I don't know how you would say it, a package or so, but you have like, say, 5 different high point sources saying that this is the person's current cell number, well, that's probably going to get a 99% accuracy. And then you have maybe one high source or one high point source, and then a couple other sources that aren't so accurate always. That number might be 86% accuracy. So they get it from it's a large culmination of different sources they get their information from, and they have a system that kind of automates it and puts it into a certain percentage of how likely that number or that address or whatever piece of information it is. And that's my understanding from a layman's point of view of how it works.
That's good stuff. So you would go to TLO at this point right now. You would go start at TLO so you can get a plethora of information so that you can start breaking something down. You have and I don't expect you to give away all the secrets here, but you would use TLO to get some of the information that you needed, and then you would turn around. Now, do you use the social media searches in TLO? I always find those to be a little bit cumbersome.
Yeah, they are, and they haven't really integrated well with different social networking platforms. Like, for instance, after the Cambridge Analytics disaster with Facebook, Facebook removed its ability, at least from the URL, and I teach us how to circumvent that or do a workaround on it, but with a messenger application in one of my YouTube videos. But Facebook took away its ability to search by phone numbers in the main Facebook search bar and by emails. And there is a workaround. It takes a little longer, but it's still very useful. But they took away that ability. And, my recommendation to TLO was that I guess they never got it going, but to build a program where you could just click on the number, and that would, if you highlighted the number or something, it might appear in a pop-up like it leads to this profile. I think that would have been an awesome feature, and that would have helped out so much. It would have got so many more customers that they could work something out like that. Or, there's different Chrome extensions and different browser extensions that you can do that. You can highlight over a picture, you can right-click on it, and it'll lead to other profiles. And I think what these vendors are usually lacking, and I know I'm going a little off topic on the question, but what these vendors are usually lacking is kind of an all-in-one integration. So you get the information and you can use it as like a meta search. It can cross-platform type thing. And I think it would have been awesome if it had that. But the problem is these social networks and these different sites online, they're always changing their programming. They're always changing the way they do things. So it's really hard to get something working, to have your programmers build something and then have it change.
Mm-hmm. So when you go on and you do your own little search, and I don't know if you were going to go into this with the next question, but you use TLO to get the information and start to do like a workup, and then you have your social media accounts up, and do you have like a checklist that you go through?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we have a twofold thing, because part of our company, and what we haven't really got into, is we do buy debt, and we source that debt out to a few different agencies. And what we found is part of what we do is we evaluate that debt, and we evaluate that person and see kind of what assets they have. Should we throw this file off to a law firm? Should we throw it off to just a regular collection agency? So we kind of evaluate that. We do a quick evaluation on that. And that's part of what we do aside from the POEs, the place of employment skip tracing that we do. But what we do is we usually get a TLO locate report. Costs me about $1 per file. But I always kind of get that money back. In what we do, but we get a locate report on the person. We fulfill the account with a locate report. So every associate will have that initial locate report with all this information pulled. I do limit some of the information, like past vehicles and things that aren't really going to help them out. I don't want to add a lot of cumbersome information in there that they're just going to have to spend more time looking through, and time is money, so I don't want to waste their time. So we put the valuable information in the TLO. We have the TLO report export the valuable information, or what I find valuable. We put that into the initial account, and that's what my associates have to start the skip trace. Now, sometimes the information is prevalent right on the report, and it's exactly what we need, and we go in and verify it, and 5 minutes later we're done. If it was like that all the time, I'd be filthy rich right now, or I'd be broke, because all my clients would be doing that, and I wouldn't have they wouldn't have a need for me. But one of those. But yeah, we put that information in there, and then we'll do some light social media skips. I mean, one of the things I do teach my associates is time management, and that's a big thing. You can't be spending 45 minutes on a file that they might earn $20 to $25 from, because that's going to take away time from other files. So it's really all about, we have kind of a checklist, but it's all about time management. So we have the locate report in there. That's what they start with. And then they go to some light social media skips, Facebook, Google. They put the numbers in Facebook, see if it leads to a profile. They Google a number, see if it leads to, who knows, a Craigslist posting or, whatever online. I found some great ones. I've just Googled the number and it's gone right to their sales profile on a company website or, whatever it be. I found one very recently that I just Googled the first few numbers. It was a cell number. It didn't lead to her Facebook, but it did lead to her teacher profile to contact this teacher. Here's the company email and here's her cell. And her face was listed right there. You call the employer, done in like 5 minutes. So we utilize that information. And then after a quick online skip, we call it a quick skip. I tell my associates, unless you have a really, really solid lead, don't spend more than 5 to 7 minutes doing the online skipping. We do a series of calls if the answer isn't prevalent. Plus the quick skip will give us leads. Like we do say we're skipping someone in Colorado, we do they have a really great professional license search. It's free on the state website. So we do a professional license search on every Colorado file we have coming in, find out if they're a nurse, find out if they're a plumber, because usually someone will stick within their industry. I mean, it happens where sometimes you have someone an accountant for 10 years and they go off into nursing, unexpected, but it happens. But usually a person they've worked if they have a professional license in plumbing, they're probably a plumber now. So it's people usually stick within their field of expertise. So, the quick online skip will either give us the answer right away that we'll go in and we'll verify, or it'll give us a lead to when we get them on the phone, we can work that lead and we can really kind of get into it. And it gives us a little more credence in the call. Like, oh yeah, you're a plumber for all these years, right? And, and it sounds like we're familiar with them. It builds a bridge between us and them, us and the other person on the phone. And that kind of familial bridge really helps out the call. So we do the quick skip.
That's
we
good.
Do a series of calling and a series of phone calls. If that doesn't work, we move on to the next file because we have a lot of files. So you really can't be spending too much time on one file because you could spend all day on a file just tracking down leads and you could maybe get somewhere or you could get nowhere. And so we really time management is a big aspect of the training that we do here.
That's awesome. So I think I feel like we could talk about skip tracing all day because it's such a cool topic to be able to find. You're solving such a major pain point for so many people in the industry when you go out there and you find somebody that they couldn't find.
And there's a certain rush to it too because you got to think. I tell my associates, be proud of what you do. Be proud of the knowledge you have because the client has tried to find, the original client has tried to find this, the collection agency, and who knows how many collectors of the collection agency tried to find it. Then we're like the last step on the waterfall. Then we did. So you're doing what at least one person, probably 5 people or so, have tried and failed at, and you're doing that. So have some pride about what you're doing.
That's good. What book would you recommend? You had to get this knowledge from somewhere.
Honestly, I don't think I got it from a book per se. I really got it by listening to when I worked at various collection agencies in the past. Because when I started out, I really had no experience. So when I started out at different agencies, I always tried to sit down with the people that were better than me. The people that their talk off on the phone was amazing, jaw-dropping. So I always tried to sit down with them. I always just tried to, kind of like when I play chess, I always like to play chess against someone that's better than me, or when I play pool or whatever, I always like to play with a better player. Not 10 times better that I'm just like, I give up halfway through the game, but I always like to play with someone that has more knowledge than me, someone who's more challenging. And I guess maybe it's the competitive sense in me too. I like to try to beat that, but my wife says I'm a little too competitive at times, but it served me well in business. I always want to be the best, and I always want to be near people and surround myself with people that know more than me, and I can learn from them. So I wouldn't say I get it from a book necessarily, but I guess if you kind of reverse that, I had someone working for me, and he's still working for me per DM, but he was an amazing skip tracer, and he worked for me for a little while. And now he works for me just here and there, with other tasks, data entry and things like that. But he's a writer, and he wrote a book called Miami Burn, and it's detective fiction, kind of like a rough and gruff PI type detective fiction. And then he wrote another book called Miami Chill, and his name's actually John Patton, and he wrote a book very recently called Miami Chill, and he got a lot of the details of when it comes to more online skipping and stuff. He got a lot of the details from working here. So I would say that would be my favorite book, not because it's necessarily my favorite book. I like Orson Scott Card. I like Stephen King. I mean, I have some top book selections in that range, but I really like that book just because he got a lot of the knowledge from working here. So it's kind of a little more special to me. But any kind of books that teach, but in the nonfiction realm, any kind of books that teach psychology, about different sales techniques, about talking to people, I can all apply it to this industry. Any kind of buzz leads or buzz marketing books. I wish I had a top book that I could recommend, but I can't, because a lot of it came from experience and sitting down with people that were better than me. But any kind of book, really, I guess, that teaches about the psychology of other people. And I like books that teach about talking to different ethnicities too, because you can do so much better on a call if you know how to address someone in a formal sense from China, for instance, or someone that's Chinese rather. So speaking to different ethnicities, speaking to different people from different geographies and such, any kind of book that really teaches the psychology of how other people act, what other people do and why they do it, sociology and stuff. I really kind of enjoy those books, and I'm able to apply it to what I do.
Well, and it really kind of touches on the salesman aspect of being able to. I recently took a personality test, and it said I was an entrepreneur, and one of the I have an entrepreneur personality, and one of the traits was that you're able to read people, and you pick up on the slightest cues in their voice and in their, and how their movements and stuff like that. And I thought that's so true, and that's what made me in the past a great salesperson. And I feel like that's kind of what you're touching on. I was like, the psychology behind it is big, but being able to get on the phone with somebody and realize they have a little bit of an accent, and I don't even know I'm doing it, like, a little Middle Eastern accent, and then all of a sudden my voice, my kids tell me, Dad, why are you talking like a Middle Eastern?
It all comes down to, I believe the term is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And it is taught to people in law enforcement too. Like if someone is raising their voice, you instinctively want to raise your voice, but that'll just aggravate the call further or the situation further. So what you should do is you should even lower your voice a little bit and start talking a little quieter. And it kind of brings the person to match what you're doing, and they instinctively lower their voice. And it's all about reading people, and it's good. They teach interview techniques like that. Like if you have a interviewer leaning in, you should match them, get on the same page. Victim statements, you have a victim using certain vernacular. For instance, you kind of match there to get on the same wavelength as them. So when I have, and now that this is not really collections, is more skip tracing, when I have a guy that's, this is normal talk for him and he's swearing every other sentence, I'll drop a couple F-bombs in my conversation too. I was like, oh yeah, those effing employers, but whatever, but because you get on the same wavelength with the person, that person opens up more to you. So any kind of books that teach NLP is very, very valuable, because it teaches you how to match cadence, how to really talk to people and get them to open up to you.
That's good stuff. Eric, tell us, what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
I've received a lot of great advice over the year. I'm not sure there's a greatest, but I guess it's more in the business sense and less in the skip tracing sense. But it's one of the first lessons I was taught in business was make sure you give your people value. You pay them on time. Before you even issue a dime, before you go to McDonald's, before you take yourself out to dinner, before anything, make sure you always pay your people on time, because the people working for you is the most important out of any type of skip trace tool or whatever you have. The people that work for you, because they are literally investing their time in the hope that this will be a good company, and the hope that this is going to be a good experience, that they're going to get paid. And they're putting their hours of their day, they're putting time on the line for you. So you need to do everything you can to make sure they have value. Never take them for granted. Like, you make sure, and it's not just the pay. you make sure that throughout the day, hey, great job, that I wouldn't have seen, like, be able to admit something like, hey, I wouldn't have seen that. I love the way you went into this case. That was a great job you did. Congratulations. Like, make sure that you give your people value and make sure they see that you appreciate them. And that is honestly, it's the people that really, you get the vendor relationships, you get your clients, you get all that, but it's really the people that work for you that really bring the value to your company. And you need to make sure, to be a great business, to be a great employer, you really need to make sure that they know that you value them. And I say that's the biggest and best piece of advice that was ever given to me.
Well, I got to tell you, the whole idea of making the emotional deposits, like, don't just deposit into their bank account, deposit into their emotional bank account, and they'll stay with you forever. I have an employee that's been with me for a while, Nancy, and I think everyone should have at least one Nancy. You can't do business.
Oh, I got close. I got a Natasha. So, and she's been with my company for a year and a half, and it's kind of a sad occasion because hopefully she'll be coming back, and it's certainly a spot for her. But she decided to do college full time, and because she's been doing college part time and working for me part time. But she's been an absolute great addition to my business. And as my wife says, she deserves a medal, because anyone that can work in close quarters with me for a year and a half and put up with me deserves a gold medal. But I wasn't sure what to make of that. But she's really added a lot of value. And it's not just, honestly, I have had some superstar skip traces that have come in that have blown everyone away, including myself. And they're just really, really great over the phone. They really have that personality that I aspire to have. And they've done a little better at times than her. But you know what? She's a very good skip tracer. I've seen her grow from not really being able to do this job at all to being very good at it. But she's really added value to the company. When someone comes in, if someone has a problem or someone needs to, if I'm not available and they need help with something, she'll drop everything she's doing and go over and helping them without any, and I'll try to compensate her and show her value for that, but she'll do it without any expectation of like compensation for, jumping into a manager role or jumping into this role to help someone out. And that's someone that you really got to show value to. That's someone that, but that's kind of what we're talking about, the investment into emotional deposit or into them and showing the value, because that's someone that's going to be there for your company. That's someone that you can trust, and that's someone that you can rely on. Those are the type of people that really build your business, that, don't just think of themselves, that go out, and that's someone that, let me put it this way, and this kind of jumps into a kind of a different discussion, but I'll say it briefly. It's one thing that kind of puts us above other companies is our quality control. And you have two types of employees. You have two types of associates. You have the associate that, and this is perfectly fine, by the way, but you have the associate that is worried about their paycheck, that wants to do a good job, that wants to make sure they're getting paid. And that's fine. That's normal. But then I say you have some associates that go the extra mile. And you have some associates that looks at a case and says, well, yeah, I want to get paid, but I want to make sure that the company doesn't look bad because this is a quick job or a bad job. I did this. And they care about the company image. And right there, that's the most valuable associate that you could possibly have. Someone that doesn't just care about their paycheck. They care about the overall well-being of the company.
Value bombs dropped on Server Nation. Eric Neal has been just tearing it up today with the skip tracing, from having employees, how to work with them, it's just so much here, Eric. I don't know if you realize how much you're sharing or the value that you're able to provide us, and I just appreciate it. Just to wrap things up here, what is your parting piece of advice for Server Nation out there?
Well, I would say just to focus on, as we were talking about, the value of not just your associates, but any type of relationship that you've built up. Make sure you don't take that for granted. Your clients, your associates, whatever it be, just really make sure that you constantly and consistently show them that you value them. Because if your company is going to grow, what really makes your company is the people that care about your company, and they're only going to care about your company if they feel that they're valuable to your company. If they feel they're valuable, that you recognize them, as you recognize their efforts. And that's a huge, huge thing. So I would say that, and any type of and showing your clients value is really the quality of your work. One thing that we do for our clients, and we do it as like a free bonus to our clients, but to show value, is to we promise them, say, this employment will be verified and we'll do it correctly, and we guarantee that. But in the course of the skip, for instance, I think this is something that could apply to process serving. In the course of the skip, we always try to provide a little more information free of charge. So say we're skipping down someone, we find their employment, we verify it, job done. A lot of companies will just provide that information. And hey, the client's not paying for extra information, so we're not going to give it to them. Now, if I come across their banking information or something, yeah, I'm certainly going to try to upsell that. But I'll get their cell number. Sometimes I'll find a brand new address for the person. I'm just going to, I already have the information. I'm just going to include that to my client free of charge. And I'm going to give them that extra bonus. So I don't guarantee it. And we're not going to go off looking for other information. But if we find it in the course of the skip, we're going to include it in the verification. Hey, this is the subject's verified cell. The subject is planning on moving to this address in 2 months from now. Or the company is moving out of state, and the person's moving out of state. So we're going to give them that information. I think a process server could really show, give a company value, show invest in the company, in their client by, I don't know how, I'm not a process server. I don't really know the in and outs of everything, but by saying, hey, we serve the person, but for future reference, this person is very aggressive, or this person was very amicable. Just add a little extra information. And I think a lot of clients, they recognize and they appreciate that. And that goes a long way to building up a really solid experience or a really solid relationship.
Yeah, it really does, Eric. Being able to give them, I guess what you're saying is over deliver.
Yeah, I promise big, but then I try to over deliver a little more.
Yeah, that's good. So I've heard it said before, under promise and over deliver, but a lot of times when we're out there trying to sell stuff, have you ever been guilty of I can find anyone anywhere?
Yeah, I got to admit that. Yeah, it's like, what? No, I've never found of course I've had people I can't locate, employment on, but I'm like, what? No, you come to me because you heard I was the best. There's no one I can't find. Yeah, I'm sure I've said that once. I'm pretty sure, but and then I'm proven wrong. But yeah, there's occasionally things that I just can't find. But for the most part, I can pretty much find anyone. I just can't. Oh wait, I think I'm doing it again right now. But yeah, no, I get cocky. But,
well, and I feel like I'm the same way, and I don't have nearly the skills you have. That's why I think it's funny. We're all skip trace experts until we can't find somebody, and so just try to. I love the concept of just create a model. This is how much I charge to be able to do this specific service of a basic locate, and to verify the address is this additional charge and this type of thing. And then whatever it is, whatever your service is, and then over deliver on that service. So to find out what your service is going to be and then nail it down so that there's clear communication and expectation, and then over deliver on that service.
Yeah, that's one thing that we'll give the client, like when we're verifying the employment, if sometimes, payroll will drop other information that we would never expect them to drop. Like, the garnishment should go through pretty well. This person makes $15.36 an hour. And like, what? Did you just tell me what the person, like, I can't believe you just told me. Of course, I don't say that. I don't scold them for giving me information. I accept it with open arms, but I will, give that to our client, and then our client's like, how the heck did you find out what they're making an hour? And I'm like, we're just awesome. But yeah, we always try to, if we want to show our clients that we care about their business. And from a selfish reason, we do, because we want their business to succeed. We want them to recognize the value in our services so that we keep getting more business and consistent business. But we really want to show our clients that, I will sacrifice, money if I can show occasionally, not always, but I'll sacrifice money occasionally if I find something. Maybe I find an employment and I find it really easily, and I tell the client, you know what, I'm going to give this to you free of charge because there's a child support garnishment ahead of you, and that, of course, that always takes precedent. So you're probably not going to get anything for this for 3 months, and they may not be working there in 3 months again. So there's nothing you can do with this. So I don't want to charge you on something necessarily that I know for a fact you're not going to get money on. And honestly, that just shows great value to the client.
Yeah, being conscientious. That's good. That's good. Eric, so what is the best way that we can connect with you? How can Server Nation keep up with you?
Basically through my website. My website is NAA for Neil and Associates, NAA-MA for Massachusetts.com. When I created it, it was actually a really short company initials, and it was really great on paper, but then now I have to say it's like, no, N, not M. And, but it's NAA-MA.com. And I have all my contact information, email on there, and they can call me anytime.
That's great. You're definitely the kind of person that Server Nation needs to keep up with, being able to, whether it's skip tracing or just learning the different things. I love the idea that you're creating a YouTube channel and talking about maybe creating a course, which I'm sure Server Nation will be interested in. So we'll visit your website and try to keep up with you. Eric, I want to personally thank you for coming on the show. I've been impressed with everything you got going on, from the skip tracing to the business mind that you have for being able to build a business and being able to market your services in an interesting way, doing mostly the collection and skip trace aspect of things. So I'm definitely going to go subscribe to your YouTube channel, going to check out your website. I just appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely. It's been great. I thank you so much.
Until next time, Server Nation, you've been served up some awesomeness by Eric, the East Coast Skip Tracer, and Mighty Mike, the podcast server. Server Nation, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Don't forget to visit psduniversity.com and claim your 30-day free trial of the PSD Mastermind membership. That's psduniversity.com. Thank you so much for listening today, and please don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family. And if you like what we're doing, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time, Server Nation, stay safe out there.